Hi, welcome. Today we will talk about one of my favorite attacks on the Italian. So I'm talking about the Lolli's attack. This attack happens after the black captures the pawn on d5 with the knight. And normally they say that this is a mistake for black, but I believe too that it is a mistake. But the truth is that today we will see several different ways of attacking the black player, and we will see that exists new interesting lines. In my opinion, they are all superior for white, but the truth is that according to the Stockfish, some of them are playable for black. So let's jump to our video. Talking a little bit about the Italian, the Italian has gained popularity on the last years, but the truth is that it's rare to see the best players play the Italian. I don't know why, because in my opinion, the Italian is a great way of creating problems to our opponent. So this starts with e4, e5, and after knight, knight, bishop c4. This is the Italian game. So we will see the lines of knight f6. Of course, if you want to know more about the lines with bishop c5, I've already created a video talking about the Evans Gambit. We continue with b4, and in a few days we will talk to about the Italian Gambit. I love to play the Italian Gambit because we can play the best lines of the Italian and we can transpose to the Scottish game or Scottish Gambits too. So it's very interesting. But today we will talk about the knight f7. And we've already created a video about knight g5, but defending the Fagatellos. So after d5, pawn takes, knight takes, we have seen knight taking on f7. And the truth is that this isn't so easy as it was supposed to be for white, because exists some lines that are pretty complicated to win. So today we will defend another approach, d4 after knight takes on d5. And okay, you're seeing already some percentages, and these are the probabilities of winning after this variation happens if you play correctly according to the opening tree website. So we will start to see knight takes on d4. The second line will be pawn takes, then bishop e7. In my opinion, it's it's not very common. Bishop e6, it's interesting, it's new, and probably if somebody plays this or f6 against you, probably it will be a cheater if this happens on the internet. I don't know, it isn't very normal. So let's go to our lines. On the second column, I give some of my ideas about those lines. So let's go to our first position. So knight takes on d4, and the idea needs to be always the same. We want to create pressure on this file, and to do that we will continue with c3. It's very pretty because the thing is that the queen is attacking directly the knight on d4 and indirectly the other knight. So after, for example, knight plays to c6, we are attacking with two pieces the knight on d5. So this can continue with bishop takes, and of course we are winning because the bishop is defending the knight on g5. But of course we are assuming that the black player does a blunder, because this move isn't necessary. So here I've analyzed, for example, the lines with h6 and the lines with b5. b5 is the best answer. So after h6, this will be very easy for white, because we will sack the knight on f7, because this will permit us to have the initiative and create always problems, because the black's king is exposed. Of course, this king needs to take, because we are attacking the queen and the rook. And after pawn takes knight, here very important, if this pawn takes, we will win because of queen f3 giving check and creating pressure to the knight on d5. So it isn't supposed to see this happens, because we will win with violence. So probably most players will continue with c6 or even bishop attacking. We'll see both lines. My suggestion is to continue with knight c3, because again, if the pawn takes, we will be completely won, because here it's quite different, because we can take the knight, and after pawn takes we have a very interesting approach, queen f3, and if king plays here, we have queen to e4 giving check, and the thing is that the pawn is pinned. The pawn cannot take the queen, so we will win this game. So this is very interesting, and in my opinion, for black is too complicated. Of course, another variation can be b5, and b5 isn't so easy as it was supposed to be. According to the fish, this is completely playable for black. So our approach will be to try to maintain the center and continue creating some problems to the black's king. So because of the fact that the bishop is being attacked, we need to play bishop d3. What is the idea? Simple. After, for example, h6, we will continue this position, sacking the knight, and after king takes, we can capture the knight. So after pawn takes, again, we have always the same kind of ideas. We can castle, we can play queen f3. I recommend the castle first, because this king is exposed, this knight is on the diagonal, the bishop is attacking on b5, the pawn structure isn't the best, and talking about the development, well, the black's pieces aren't well coordinated. For this reason, this knight takes d4 normally gives a lot of wins for white. So let's assume that this move, even with the fish saying that the b5 lines are playable, let's assume that this is a mistake for black. So we've already seen our first line. Now let's go to our second line. But before that, did you know that almost 87% of the viewers isn't subscribed? Why don't you like me? I'm a great person and I need your help, because I want to continue teaching chess here on this channel. We do chess material every day, and to continue doing that, I need your help. Please subscribe, push the like button, notifications on, and if you have any suggestions or critics, or if you want to talk with me, you can always talk with me on the comments or even by chess.com. My nickname is _attack. So let's continue with our video. So our second position is pawn takes. So let's jump. So e4, e5, knight, bishop, and now knight f6. And after knight g5, again pawn, and after pawn takes, knight takes, d4. Don't forget, d4 is the move that characterizes the Lolli's attack. Now we will see the pawn taking the other pawn. In my opinion, this is the worst line of all, because we will have a lot of attacking potential. The initiative is ours. We won't be losing this initiative, never, if you play correctly, of course. Here, the first thing that most players think is, oh, okay, let's sack the knight. But this doesn't work yet, because if you sack the knight, black has queen check and will collect the knight, so you will lose this game. According to the fish, it's playable, but black has a slight advantage. So you don't want to do this yet. The idea is just to castle, because after castle kingside, black doesn't have any check. So most players, and on the last week I've won, I think, 4 or 5 games all the same way with this attack against national masters and feed masters. So they all play bishop to e7, and bishop e7 is a terrible blunder, because we can sack the knight on f7 and we don't have any problem with our king's security, because after king takes knight, we will play queen to h5, And this is a proof that the Italian game is too strong, and everyone should play this opening, because after pawn advances, bishop takes, king goes here, bishop h6, and after king plays to f6, this is a checkmate. So it's too strong for white. For this reason, I defend with my soul this opening. This is very, very, very powerful for white. Of course, here we've seen a mistake for black, because black can play better than this. Well, I studied bishop to e6. Isn't the best move, but some players already played that against me. And you need to know very well that after bishop e6, you need to create pressure with the rook on e1, because you're increasing the attackers to 2. So you have 2 attackers and the bishop is being defended just by 1 pawn. And here, some players will play a queen to d7, believing that the king is protected and the bishop is being protected. And you have an explosive move. You can play knight takes on f7. What is the idea? It's quite simple. If queen takes, we can continue with this, just playing the bishop takes knight, because the bishop is pinned, the queen isn't on the file, so the rook is creating pressure. So we are playing an equal position on material, but the thing is that this is too complicated to defend, because we are threatening to take another piece. So for this reason, this is a superior position for white. So another hypothesis could be king to take, king takes the knight. But here again we have another very, very beautiful idea. We will continue with queen f3, giving check, creating pressure to the knight. And if this king goes to g8, we have rook takes bishop. After queen takes, bishop takes, the queen is lost. So of course, here probably black will need to do something like that to try to create pressure on c. But we don't need to be afraid. Rook e2, and the material is even, but look at the black's position. So we can always try to win something. We are creating pressure, and we have the initiative. For this reason, white normally wins a little more than 64% of the game. So this is a very high percentage. So I like a lot this kind of lines. The other idea can be to try to protect with the knight. Knight e5 can be an approach. I'm with the flu, sorry. And here, after knight attacks, we can continue again with rook e1. And the idea is that we want to create pressure to this knight with the rook, because it's on the same file than the king. So here, after, for example, knight e3, according to the engines, this is the best move. In my opinion, this is too complicated for black, because you will sack again the knight, and after knight takes on f7, you can now take the knight with any problems. So pawn takes, and if this happens, you can sack the bishop and you're going to win material. So even if the king plays here, you're already winning by 2 full points, and you can take with the rook. So this is too complicated to play for black. So white is completely won. So we've already seen 2 variants. So knight takes, e takes. Now let's jump to the sidelines. And one of the sidelines is bishop e7. So let's jump to our position. And here takes, and after that we will play d4, don't forget. And here we can play bishop to e7. In my opinion, bishop e7, bishop e6, and f6 are sidelines that probably your opponent will be cheating. I don't know. If you play with somebody and they play this on the internet, it isn't common, because most players play the first 2 lines, knight takes and e takes. But the thing is that, okay, we need to solve this problem. So the idea of bishop e7 is to create pressure on our knights. So for this reason, in this position, this is a position where we need to sack the knight right now. Because if we go back, we will be worse. So here we will sack the knight, and after king takes, the only available move, this will have a look similar to the fried liver attack or the fegatao. So we will continue with queen to f3, and after bishop goes to f6, here I'm assuming that they won't be playing this move, but it's playable. But in my opinion, bishop is better. We will continue with bishop takes, and the idea is bishop e6. According to the engine, we have a little advantage. White has a slightly superior position, but I think it isn't easy to play, because here they can continue with, we will continue with pawn takes, and after knight takes, black has the center, and my idea is to try to collect the most pawns we can take. For example, this can be playable for black, but after queen takes on a7, okay, the black's argument is that they are most developed. Our argument is that we are winning by three pawns. So we want to exchange material, we want to castle king side, and playing with some calm, in my opinion, we will win this position. Talking about the other alternative, instead of bishop, we can see king playing to e6. And in this case, we will continue with knight c3. And after, for example, knight takes, creating pressure on c2 and attacking the queen, we will continue with just bishop takes knight. Here, of course, if queen takes, we take, so this is good. And if the king goes to d7, this is an engine position. So according to the fish, we are winning by 0.7. So it isn't easy to win this position, but the thing is that this is a fish position. So I don't know if somebody will have the guts to be playing this on an official game, because the king is dancing on the board. So I don't know. For me, this isn't normal. But okay, my idea is just to play on d3, try to control the weaknesses, in this case the c2 pawn, and after, for example, c6, in my opinion, this will be easier to play for white. Again, the fish says this is 0.7 for white, so we won't be having any problem to play this position because we aren't losing on material. So in my opinion, this is good again. So let's jump to our next position, and our next position is bishop to e6. So let's go, bishop e6, and again I'm repeating always just to help you to memorize how to reach those positions. So here black will continue with bishop e6, and okay, bishop e6 is very interesting. In my opinion, isn't normal, but we need to evaluate very well how to create damages to the black's plans and the black's game. So for me, knight takes bishop needs to be done, because after f takes, these pawns are doubled, the king is on the center, and okay, probably somebody will take the pawn. Okay, if knight takes, is white's to play, we will castle, and white's after the castling, the knight will take, and here the position is playable for both sides, so we are losing by 1 point, but the thing is that we will create again pressure to the black's kings. So the first plan is always the same, to play the c3, and after the knight goes to c6, we will continue with a check. The check is an idea I like a lot, and you have queen to b3. In my opinion, queen check is always an interesting idea. Why is that? Because this will create a new weakness, so the diagonal. And after that, we will play queen to e2, and the idea is to try to create problems on the center. Again, in my opinion, for example, bishop g7 is complicated to play because we can play knight e2, knight f3, and the thing is that soon we will collect the pawn, and you have this weakness too. So this is interesting. In my opinion, is playable for black, and the white's plans needs to be play for the end game and maintain the initiative, trying to create pressure to the pawns, the black's pawns, the central black's pawns. So in my opinion, this is playable for black, is incredible. If you want, you can see the other approach is queen to b3. It's the same, so we will need to play for the endgame, and we will want to create problems. I don't enjoy much this line because black will play probably knight to a5 and will try to exchange the bishop. This needs to be done. Queen to a, and after c6 or even knight to c6 to try to draw this kind of stuff. Here we will continue with knight d2. It's a different approach. This is playable too. The fish says this is 0.2, 0.3 for the white. And again, we will want to create pressure to these pawns, and we will want to create problems always and try to reach an endgame. So for me, this is probably the best line of these 5 alternatives. So let's last position. This one is weird. I would never do that. f6. So again, after this happens, d4, f6. For me, this looks terrible. Talking about the Ben Feingold, Feingold is always saying never play f6. And yeah, I believe that too, because this is an ugly move, and on an Italian game, wow, this looks weird. And well, we need to think a little bit. And my suggestion is just to take the pawn. What is the idea? The idea is to create pressure on the knight. And for example, if the pawn takes, we are already better because the bishop can take, and these pawns are completely broken. We have a passed central pawn, and this move probably isn't the best because we will castle again. The king is on the center. We will try to pin the knight. So we have several simple plans, and the game isn't simple for black. So what is the other alternative? Well, after that, the knight can take. And in my opinion, this move is very interesting because the material is even and black is attacking 2 pieces. So, of course, we will need to take the knight. And after pawn takes knight, the material is even. But in my opinion, we have a superior structure, pawn structure, because of the pawn on g5. So we will try to play an endgame with a superior advantage. So because we can win this pawn. So the idea is just to castle. Again, you need to guarantee that your king is well protected. And after, for example, c6, in my opinion, is normal too. We will need to play or bishop, or if you want, you can try rook to e1. In my opinion, you can perfectly play bishop to b, because if queen takes queen, we will take with the rook. And don't forget, we have always this kind of plans. So black needs to play knight to f7, and after that, we can already collect bishop takes, king takes, bishop takes. This is an hypothesis. And if you want, you can give before the check. And for example, if bishop plays here, again, we have several interesting ideas. For example, you can play knight c3 to develop first. You can you always play for the end game because you will be always winning material. So, and even knight d2 is interesting because you can try to occupy the center and create problems to this pawn. So in my opinion, this is all very interesting. Again, this isn't normal, and according to the opening tree f6, it's good for white because white is winning 58.3% of the games. Another hypothesis is after bishop plays to b3, black can play bishop to f5 to try to develop the pieces and survive. Of course, again, you can take, and after rook takes, bishop takes. So this is completely playable. But my suggestion is just to give check before, because after pawn advances, queen takes, we will play an endgame with advantage. Why I like that? Simple, because we are threatening to win material. And after, for example, bishop to g, this isn't good for black, because here you can advance, you can try to pin the knight before, but this move is already very interesting, because, okay, let's see, if knight gives check to try to win material, we just can take with the pawn, and after bishop takes, we play knight d2. And we are won, because after bishop takes, rook takes, and we are winning by 1 point. So this doesn't work for black. And about alternatives, for example, let's see, knight d7 or f7, something like that. We can continue with rook check, of course, and this king needs to play here. And after that, bishop e7, it's complicated to defend, because this king is on g8, the rook won't be leaving soon, and the knight is pinned, and we can play, for example, knight c3 or even c3, and for me, it isn't clear what is the plan for black. So this is easy for white, so we will continue the developments, and black will need to solve a lot of problems. One of them is how to play the knights, how to solve the problem with the rook, how to prevent the entering of the rook on e7. So these are all very complicated questions to be answered. So I hope you enjoyed this Italian. Sorry for my flu, my nose is terrible. But I think if you understood all the lines, you will be able to create damages playing this Lolli's attack. Talking about the differences between the Fagatello or the Fried Liver attack and Lolli's attack, in my opinion, it is simpler to play the Lolli's attack. It's easier, sorry, and exists lines that survive to the Fagatello's attack. So if you want to play your best chess, of course, first it's very important to know the Fagatello attack, because some of the plans that we use in these Lollis exist on the Fagatello attack, but this is a remastered version of the Fagatello attack. So black has always a lots of problems to survive, and for this reason, nowadays most good players they don't take the pawn on d5, and for this reason we will next when we do another video about the Italian game, we will be seeing the Polaris defense, because Polaris defense is probably the best defense to this line of knight g5. So again, I hope you enjoyed. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. You will be giving a very big help to this channel to grow. And tell me something if you have any suggestion for the layouts and for some subjects to be talked here. Please tell me something on the comments, and you can always talk with me, don't forget. So thanks if you've seen the video until the end, thanks a lot. And tomorrow we will be here again to talk about more chess. Till tomorrow, and thanks again. Bye bye.